taking time out this morning to come out for our Preeminence 2020 Student Forum. This is an exciting and important discussion and conversation to have with you this morning. And before we bring our Chancellor up for the presentation, I just want to go over just a couple of things on how we conduct ourselves. The ground rules are really important when we engage in conversation, and I want to ensure that all of us agree and commit to having a dynamic conversation and dialogue about the future of this institution. So if you take a look at the slide, the ground rules are important to this process, and I want you to ensure that you listen and actively and attentively. And so that helps us as we go along, so that when it comes to the question and answer session that we'll have and coordinate at the end, that it's important that we engage in some of the questions, and many of them perhaps for you will be answered during the presentation. So if you're listening actively and attentively, you'll gain that knowledge. Please don't interrupt one another, and that includes obviously when the Chancellor is having his presentation and sharing information with you. You might want to jot your questions down and be prepared. We have a microphone in the back, and we'll have a microphone floating when the question and answer section opens up. Don't offer an opinion without supporting data. So this is not about emotions. And so when we talk and engage in the conversation and you're talking about something, please support it with facts for certain, not just conjecture, something you've heard. It's important to get clarity and understand that what we're talking about in the context that it is. Seek to learn. This is an opportunity to learn new information, maybe something that you have misinformation about, or something that is really important to the future of the institution and how we are moving forward. So seek to learn in this, and take responsibility for the quality of the discussion. So this will be what we all make it here today. And also work toward a shared understanding of the future of this institution and all of our roles in it. And then finally, show respect. Show respect for one another, show respect for the office of the Chancellor and for the Chancellor himself. That's an important role. Can we agree to that? Thank you so much. All right, without further ado, I'll bring up our Chancellor, Chancellor Martin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm still struggling a bit, actually, I must say, when I got the call from our Chief of Police last night about the loss of our student. So, kind of struggling a bit with that emotion, but I do want to talk this morning. I want an open and frank discussion with you as our students, as we have had on an ongoing basis and opportunities to do so for that university since my arrival in 2009. In 2009, when I arrived on the campus, and as I was having conversations with our university's board of trustees, the discussion was about a candid, open dialogue about what our board found our university in their minds and where they wanted our university to be during my tenure as Chancellor. Where our university was in 2009 was on a downward skid in enrollment for about 6 years. We're ranked 27th or 28th among historically black colleges and universities in the nation. 27th, 28th. We had fragmented relationships as a university with some of our most significant constituents, alumni, business community leaders. And we had not talked very significantly about what was important about the future of our university. So as I began the discussion with our board of trustees and our campus community, at that time, students who were here, you weren't here, in 2009, with our faculty and staff, We started then open and frank discussions then about our university with our faculty and staff. Those conversations continue today. We meet in this room. We do. We talked about what's happening with our university, among universities in America, and among historically black colleges and universities in America, and among UNC system campuses in particular. We talked openly and candidly about our university. Our board's challenge and charge to me and our leadership team was to reverse the trends of our university. Reverse the trends, put our university in a position of sustainability as we move into the future. How many of you have an iPhone or smartphone with you at this moment? I want you to go out while I'm talking, and I want you to do some web searching. I want you to pick any HBCU in America. Any one. Pick Howard. Pick FAMU. Pick Norfolk State. Pick South Carolina State University. Pick any one of them. Just do a web search. Challenges at FAMU. Challenges at South Carolina State University. Challenges among historically black colleges and universities in America. I want you to do that while I'm talking, okay? I want you to do that. You're going to find more reading material than you've ever had an opportunity to read while students on this campus. Understand context. Some of you have been poorly informed about what we're seeking to do here. Some have suggested to you that we're trying to move from being an HBCU. How pathetic. And you believe them. Some have suggested to you that we are looking to merge with UNC Greensboro. How pathetic. You believe them. Our challenge is to make our university the very best institution it can be. Plain and simple. So that we'll be around 25 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now. So we'll be around. Strong, vibrant, sustainable. Always an HBCU. Bless you. You are college students. When people hit you with things that don't make sense, you are expected not to believe everything you hear. Even while I'm standing here sharing with you, you have to challenge me in questions. You're too smart. You are. I'm going to talk about these key items. And I want you to understand that Preeminence 2020 is not a Harold Martin plan for the future. It isn't. It's a North Carolina State University plan for the future. It is our Board of Trustees' blueprint for our future. It is. It is beginning to make a difference in the life of our university. This report is a single slide. Some of you have seen it, some of you haven't. This represents most of the southern states in our nation where historically black colleges and universities are located. You can get a copy of this. You don't have to write it down or accept it. We'll make it available to you. It's public information. Florida, Virginia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia. What do you see? Declining enrollment. Where? At historically black colleges and universities. Over what period of time? Last decade. You can make it the last 2 decades. You can make it the last 2 decades. Ladies and gentlemen. And our university said, our board of trustees said, Harold, we can do better than this, and we've got to step forward and redefine what makes our university attractive to students within the context of who we are. Winston-Salem State University lost 2,000 students in the last 4 years. You don't know that. They're right up the street. They just merged 5 schools and colleges into 2. Elizabeth City has lost 2,500 students in the last 2 years. They're merging their 4 schools and colleges into 2. FAMU lost 3,000 students in the last 3 years. Go verify what I'm saying to you. Trends. What happens with trends like this in any business if you don't do anything about it? You're smart people. What happens? You go out of business, don't you? You go out of business. These are unacceptable trends. 90% of African American students going to college today are going to a variety of non-HBCUs in America. 2-year institutions, 4-year institutions, private institutions, online campuses, Strayer, Phoenix, you name it. They're going to other places. You have friends, you have relatives. They're going other places. You've heard the adage, if you keep doing the same thing, what do? You get the same results. You do. African American students have lots of options today. They do. You have lots of options. And we're fortunate you're here. We've got to continue to get more of you coming to our institution. You know, this conversation didn't reach a plateau among HBCUs until very recently. How many of you read the article on the Wall Street Journal front page? Howard University struggles. Howard University struggles. Not only are African American students going in record numbers to majority institutions, they are doing exceedingly well. These are comparison charts. What does that say? In the 70s and 80s, when African American students went to majority institutions, there was an intense level of reaction and pushback. So African American students didn't do as well. Today, African Americans are doing exceedingly well. Why? Because those universities are welcoming African American students, Hispanic Latino students, in significant ways, making those campuses very comfortable. What does that mean for institutions like ours? You can speak up. What does it mean for institutions like ours? Decreased interest. That's what it means. It means decreased interest. It does. Again, students continue to do well. This is a UNC system campuses. Historically white institutions, historically black institutions, and the green means the flagship campuses, NC State, Chapel Hill. That's what that means. Okay? So, charged by our Board of Trustees in 2009, and they continue to charge us, me personally, and our senior staff, inclusive of our deans, make this a better place, make it more attractive, increase success of our students, reverse our enrollment trends, ensure that our graduates are well prepared and challenged in our classrooms, so that when they leave this institution, you can compete in a global space. Compete in a global space. These are the UNC campuses. We are among the 6 universities in the 16 four-year university system. That's a research-intensive doctoral institution. We're one of the 4 institutions. It's called a research-intensive doctoral institution. We've had to be clear about this and sharing it with all of our constituency. We're not a master's category institution, not a baccalaureate institution. So the institutions we're competing with for faculty, for staff, for resources, are those institutions that are comparable to our university as a research-intensive doctoral institution. They are. We try to recruit deans and department chairs and faculty. The faculty we need for the future, also looking at who we are and who we compete with. You expect us to stand before you in our classrooms, the very best faculty, don't you? The very best staff, don't you? You want better customer service. These are our peers in the UNC system. The universities that are out recruiting us, or had been, certainly over the last decade, for students who look like you, are not North Carolina Central, are not Fayetteville State, not Winston-Salem State. Who do you think they are? UNCG, UNCC, ECU, in record numbers. East Carolina, it's about 20-some-odd% African-American students. There are 28,000 students, approximately. UNC Charlotte, it's about 20-some% African-American students. And there are about 27,000 students. How many of you have been to UCG recently? Looks like A&T to some extent, doesn't it? A lot of African-American students there. We don't have enough time to debate why those students are going to those institutions. You know as well as I. Many of them are your classmates from high school. They are. Many of your classmates. These are the universities. Every university in the UNC system has a Board of Governors approved peer group. Every one. The Board of Governors approves the peer list. We are involved in shaping the peer group, but it's ultimately selected by the Board of Governors. The Board of Governors used the peer list for a variety of performance metrics: student success, faculty productivity, alumni giving, efficiency performance of the university, student performance on national exams. If we don't do well on those performance measures set by the Board of Governors and influenced by our state legislature, there are consequences. There are. Those consequences are loss of funding, restricted enrollment possibilities, per a recent decision by the Board of Governors. Some of you know what I'm talking about. There are consequences. Performance, important. All in the context of competing, yes. Being held accountable, yes. But while we're in HBCU, yes. Being an HBCU does not excuse us from any of these metrics in any way, shape, or fashion. I want you to understand that. Just like being an African American would not excuse you from performance when you leave this university and go out to the world of work. I won't excuse you. We're held accountable for the performance of our university. We are. These peers have been shaped based on several factors. One, our Carnegie classification, doctoral research university. These universities are doctoral research universities. Intensive doctoral research universities. We are a land-grant institution, have always been. We were founded as a land-grant institution. These are doctoral research land-grant institutions. Right. So our peer group is framed around comparable universities to ours. If you look at the peer group for Winston-Salem State, it will be a very different peer group. Master's category and baccalaureate institutions for that institution. Liberal arts institutions primarily. If you look at North Carolina Central, they will have a very different peer group. If you look at NC State, they will have a very different peer group. So that you understand. So our strategic plan for the future takes into consideration the trends of the day, the realities of the day, trends of African American students going in record numbers to majority institutions, being increasingly required to perform against a set of metrics set by our Board of Governors and the state legislature, an increasingly important set of metrics being set by the federal government through the Department of Education for all institutions to perform. I want you to, you don't have to do it now, but I want you to write down, and I want you to read it later when you get a chance, and please do. There are a set of rating systems being developed by the Department of Education as mandated, expected by, set by the President of the University of the United States. That rating system defines for the nation an expectation that our nation will graduate more associate's degree and baccalaureate degree students as we move forward into the future. Defined to improve the competitiveness of our nation. The focus of the rating system is to have the funds associated with financial aid, Pell Grants, student loans, follow students who go to universities that are performing well. Do you hear me? What does performing well mean? As set by the Department of Education. I want you to read this so that you are well informed. rating system focuses on essentially 4 key factors: retention rates, graduation rates, job placement of graduates, and debt default rate. I'm just going to ask you, where do you think the worst retention, graduation rates, and default rates exist in higher education in America? I'm sorry? HBCUs. And so if the money follows students to universities that perform better, where do you think the federal financial aid dollars are going to go? Come on, folks. Where? Institutions that perform better. So if we don't perform better, because there are some among us who would rather we remain mired in foolishness and not compete successfully, we lose the opportunity to provide for you to attend our university the kind of federal financial aid you deserve. What do you think you're going to do? Or students in the future are going to do when they have to make choices? Where do you think you're going to go? Now, I want you to answer these questions because you're going to ask me questions. This is business for us. This is not emotion. This is business. Where do you think they're going to go? High-performing institution. They don't really have to be that high-performing. Better performing. They can be slightly better performing. You're already going in larger numbers to ECU and UNC Charlotte, in East Carolina, in Western Carolina, in UNC Wilmington, in James Madison, in South Florida, in East Florida, in East Tennessee State, in Memphis State, you name it. You're already going in record numbers. You add this caveat, it puts us as a university in a very complicated circumstance, doesn't it? It's called business. So Preeminence 2020 is to take our university within the scope of who we are, valuing our great history and traditions as an HBCU. Those that make a difference in the lives of our students, our alumni, and our constituency. Now, there are a whole host of wonderful history and traditional things we do here, as most HBCUs do, and value. Not all of them add value. Not all of them add value. Not all of them resonate with students today and students into the future. How many of you are seniors? You're going to graduate in May or December. Our challenge is making sure we are appealing to students who look like you in larger numbers in the future. So we have to understand what that means. That's what Preeminence 2020 is defined to do for us. I'm not going to go to Preeminence 2020. I'm going to force you to read it. You ought to read it. It's not that complex. And furthermore, it's not that long. It shapes a roadmap that of key goals, vision, mission for our university's future. That's exactly what it does. And we are following it as we framed it, as our board has approved it and dictated that we adhere to it, and that we report out on it at every board meeting in some fashion. So that you understand. So this is our business plan. This is our business plan. You know, I was having a conversation about this with some of our alumni very recently as well. And I said, so you rather us continue to do that, knowing that it's doing nothing to sustain us, as no appeal today, was important for you 30 years ago, but students today could care less. Students 5 years from now could care less. Yeah, but you ought to keep doing it. It's important to us. Yeah, but you graduated 30 years ago. Our university is not shaping out to appeal to you, it's shaping out to appeal to the future. And sustainability and competitiveness. If we don't do that, what do you think we're going to do? Data shows clearly. Trends are very clear. We're going to go out of business. Now, when you look at our university today, compared to most every other HBCU in America, we are in one of the most stable positions. We are. We really are. We've climbed the ranks among HBCUs nationally. We're ranked #1 public HBCU in America. That didn't just happen. It didn't. Our alumni are giving back to our university in record numbers. Our students are achieving in record ways. Our faculty are enhancing their contributions professionally. Do we still have work to do? Hell yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now the conversation I'm having with you, some of our faculty members are here, some of our staff are here. It's exactly the same conversation I'm having with them. I assure you, ask them. Now, anytime you're making decisions to enhance the organization, not everybody's going to agree. Some want to hold on to it just like it is, even if it means the institution dying. And that's real love. I hear that from some of my alumni. I love my university. I said, to death. You love it to death. I'm an alum. I'm very passionate about our university. I don't want to love it to death. I want to make sure our university is thriving. Not surviving, it's thriving. So I'm going to stop there. I want to respond to your questions. And no question is off limits. So, yes?
Hello, I'm Kari Baker, sophomore biomedical engineering major. My question is, when the plan was being created, what made y'all believe in us so much to come up to this strategic plan?
Did you hear his question?
Yes.
Well, anytime you start thinking about any organization that creates a strategic plan, the corporate entity, a nonprofit, a university, you evaluate the institution, the organization's current circumstances. You do a SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and your threats. And you evaluate the customers, the clients, if it's a hospital, the patients, a university, the students you are seeking to appeal to, and evaluate what is it that resonates with those students today and into the future, so that we may then ensure that the things that we have been doing, which are missing the mark, we begin to focus and fine-tune our university's relevance to the interests of students of the future. And based upon all of that analysis and data gathering, we had a well-defined group of individuals, faculty, staff, students, alumni, board of trustee members, board of visitors members, and individuals from this community who met for a year thinking about our university and how to make it better. And they thought about a multitude of things, a variety of goals, a variety of strategies to enhance our university. What we thought was most important, focusing on those things that were most relevant. Most strategic plans are words on paper that essentially sit on desks or bookshelves. we were determined to make our strategic plan a very relevant one. Because if we did not make it relevant, and the great trends were occurring, with downward trends in enrollment on our campus, as was occurring among HBCUs in America, we waited too long to begin to shift in a positive direction trends for our university. We would lose too much ground. So the steering committee associated with developing the strategic plan looked at a variety of things. And all those who reviewed the plan long before it was approved and we began implementing it had lots of opportunity for review feedback. Let me give you a quick example as the next person's coming for a question. We are a land-grant institution. We have always been. We were founded as a land-grant institution. The most successful public universities in America are land-grant institutions. They are. If you go back before 2009 and look at most of the information associated with our university, we rarely mention that we were land-grant. Many of our constituents have forgotten about the fact that we were land-grant. Being a land-grant didn't resonate with many of our constituents because it didn't mean anything. Being a land-grant university is a powerful mission for our university. The types of degree programs we have. Every land-grant institution in America has a common core set of degree programs. Ag sciences, engineering, business, education, nursing, almost every one of them. They are degree programs that are important to the needs of industries and agencies of our nation. They are very relevant for our university. And so we went back to our strategic plan and made being a land grant front and center. Raised its visibility and importance in our strategic plan. Next question.
I don't need that. Hello, good morning. Oh, I don't need it. You want me to?
I'll repeat the question.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Kashmir Barnes. I am a graduating senior in professional English, and I actually have 2 questions. My first question would be, how will you add attraction to A&T, being that it's already indulged in so much history and culture? How will you and your board of trustees add an attraction to bring more Black students to our university?
Excellent question. Excellent question. There are multiple pieces to the response. The students we have surveyed, high school students, have indicated their clear interest in making sure that upon graduation they get a job. And upon graduation they'll be admitted to some of America's top graduate professional schools. So we have to continue to show evidence that our campus is safe. Parents can send their children to us, sons and daughters. Their sons and daughters, while on this campus, will be safe. That they will have access to the very best faculty in preparation for the future. That our students will have access to experiences beyond the campus boundaries. Internships, study abroad, engagement in the community. Experiences that better prepare them for the marketplace. And that we are indeed creating an opportunity in a new set of future degree programs that are more appealing and relevant to student interests that the students can get at other universities. So, over the last few years, we've gone through a continual review of our undergraduate degree programs. We have, as part of the UNC system, every 2-year review of degree programs, evaluated those degree programs that have had limited or no enrollment and no degree productivity, and we've placed those degree programs in phase out. Very painful. Very painful. And we've evaluated new degree programs for the future. And so we've recently added an array of degree programs at the undergraduate and mostly at the master's and PhD level that make our university more relevant and competitive for the future. And we can give you those lists of degree programs, enrollment trends, and they are making a difference.
Okay, and my second question is, how do you suggest that the performance rate of the students will be increased, being that, you know, no one person can control the way a student thinks or the way a student learns. So how do you suggest that the performance rate of our students will be increased?
We have some deans here as well, and our provost is here. That's a good question. One is to ensure that we are, and everyone heard the question certainly, we are connecting with our students in the from the day they are admitted to our university and start enrolling for classes, that there's someone engaging them. And when those students arrive, there are assigned advisors that place in appropriate classes that meet those students' degree requirements, not just a random set of courses that may not add value to their degree pursuits, and that we are assigning to our early courses, the general education core requirements, that all students take, some of our very best faculty to engage our students. And then we're creating within that space more tutorial and support programs available to students who need assistance. We've begun since unfortunately, too many of our students who know they need help don't go get it, we're putting in place an early alert system where faculty members working with our students, identify students who need help through the early alert system, the electronic system, passes that name a faculty member would onto an environment where staff identify that student, reach out and connect with that student personally, and engage with that student to get them into support programs, tutorial assistance, and the like. So that we're doing a better job of identifying students who need help and directly getting them in. And we've got to do a better job of that. And we've also got to continue to appeal to you to assume a greater level of responsibility for your own learning, quite frankly. And it's far too much of our students who are assuming that it's somebody else's responsibility to be responsible for their success, and that's not what learning is at the college level. Yes, sir? Did I respond to your questions?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Danielle Fuller. Being that 2020 is not that far away, how close is the university to recognizing its goals?
Excellent question. 2020 is not that far away. You should know that general and strategic plans are framed on a 5 to 6, 7 year window. When we rolled the Preeminence 2020 out publicly, it was in fall 2011, which was a 9-year window. We've made great progress with enrollment targets, student retention, graduation rates targets, for example, faculty productivity, student success, student recognition, faculty recognition, fundraising. We made great progress. We have what we call a report card that summarizes our progress to our goals about 2020. That's a public document. We provide a public report on our progress to realizing our goals set in the strategic plan on an annual basis. But my senior staff and I review them every month. Every month, progress toward incremental areas, because it also identifies areas where we consider there to be bureaucracy and impediments to success, so that we address those elements of bureaucracy and impediment. And we've had more than a notion of those on our campus. And so, now, a strategic plan is a living document. So as we approach 2020, a new strategic plan discussion will begin so that you will assess where you are with Preeminence 2020, for example, and a new strategic plan will begin to be developed and emerged and approved. We'll pick up where Preeminence 2020 left off. There will be some things undone, goals not met fully, and so those goals will continue in the new plan. So it's a living document. So in answer to your question, though, we made great strides in realizing targets we've set as part of Preeminence 2020. And again, that information can be made to you without question. It's on the website.
What website?
Our university's website. Homepage. Yes, sir. Good morning. Good morning.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for holding this conference. My name is irrelevant, but I got a couple comments that you can choose to address in your order.
Okay.
I just want to know how outsourcing jobs is outsourcing students is a creative solution or a marketing strategy. I just want to understand, the thought process behind there. Because if I'm a marketing student, I think outsourcing students, in order to gain exposure and things of that nature, I don't see how that's really a smart in the community. Wait, can I finish?
Reframe it so I know what I'm
Okay, so my question is how is outsourcing students, my statement is outsourcing students is not a creative idea or a marketing strategy to increase enrollment. Because I feel like you send 15% of the students abroad and then maybe recruit the other 15% of students, and maybe that's the solution. And my thought process behind that is just like, I don't know if the community is ready for such drastic change, where 30% is not recruited from our communities and things of that nature. And my numbers behind that come from the Urban League report that was recently published that showed a lot of community metrics and whatnot and how inequality in our major cities still exists so much. And then my other statement is just, if we're underperforming, I feel like it's never a direct result of the students. I feel like that's a result of the culture on campus. And I feel like this conference right here kind of like dulled the conversations that we were having, that we were building upon from the Preeminence 2020, things of that nature. And so I feel like if you want to improve intellectual capacity on our campus, then we should continue conversations like this and things of that nature. And what else do I have?
Say it to Mike.
Okay.
I want you to go away. You're layering multiple things, so let me try to respond, so make sure I respond to your question. Outsourcing students, let me see if I can extract from what you're saying. Sending students abroad, you define as being outsourcing?
I'm calling it university recruiting students from other places, other communities. That's outsourcing, kind of like the American economy when they recruited like service jobs in Thailand and things of that nature, and the economy kind of collapsed.
Okay, I agree. Okay, I think I do. Most of our graduates leaving our university today are going to work in a space other than the United States at some point in their careers. They are. Our ability to ensure that our graduates are well prepared to lead and perform in a culture other than that culture that they are comfortable with is part of our educational process. Like any other course you take, being exposed to and recognizing and respecting the cultures of others around the world puts you in a better position to be in a leadership role if you are with a global company somewhere else in the world. And many of our graduates today are.
I can agree.
For example, you take a look at our Board of Trustees. 7 of our Board of Trustee members are alums. They are. They are very successful alums. And almost every one of them is in an organization leading in a C-level role or have established their own companies that are competing nationally and internationally.
I can agree. I just think 30% is very drastic.
No. I'm going to come to that one. Okay. That's a separate issue.
Okay.
That's a separate question.
And it's just, I mean, are we really creating autonomous students too, if we're just creating the working people?
No. Let me finish. So we believe our students should have an opportunity to study abroad. We're going to continue to do that. Now, that has nothing to do with the 30%.
I feel like that's a creative solution though, for a marketing strategy and for the benefit of, it's a win-win situation.
It is win-win. But let me try to connect this so that it makes sense, because there's lots of confusion around diversity. I think you're asking the question around diversity indirectly. Let's talk about, so studying abroad, separate issue. We want as many of our students to have global experiences as much as they can.
I would like it to be a goal.
Well,
8% of North Carolinians own passports. And so you take that number in consideration, and if our campus is sending students abroad, everybody wants to come study at our institution.
well, I would love to have 30 and 40 and 50% of our students studying abroad. First, 30, 40, 50% of our students today don't have that interest to stop what they're doing in their educational pursuits to study abroad. So the exchange programs that we're establishing, since you can't go to where the students are and immerse yourself in that culture, we're engaged in exchange programs, as most universities are, to bring students from around the world for a semester, for a month, to engage in exchange with you in our classrooms, in our residence halls. They aren't displacing African American students. They're here for one semester, 1 month, and they're enjoying their educational experiences. It is your responsibility to reach out and connect with and share your culture, and for them to share their culture. And through that exchange, you learn more about other people around the world. The challenge here is that many of our students, and some who have been trying to assure you that we're trying to suppress being an HBCU, which makes no sense. This exchange is part of the educational interaction we think is absolutely critical for you as students on our campus. Let me assure you. And these are full tuition paying students. Someone asks, well, are we going to give them financial aid? Are we using scholarship dollars to pay for them to attend? No. First, they're international students. We can't use federal financial aid to support them. So you need to get your facts. People say these things to you. You say, get your facts. So take advantage of the opportunities to learn and engage with our students from around the world and benefit from those experiences. Now let me talk about the 30%. This is not a black-white diversity conversation, as many of our students have indicated to me. This is a global diversity. This is also a diversity around increasing the number of adult learners on our campus. How many of you are over 24 years of age? Just not trying to embarrass you, but there are a large number of African Americans and others in this community, not African Americans, who have a little bit of education and need to complete their education. We need to provide them access and opportunity to continue education on this campus, adult learners. We must do that. That's a responsibility we have, to educate those individuals so that we can move them from their current circumstances to a more competitive opportunity, better job opportunities, opportunities to support their families and life. That's what universities do. That's including our diversity. Let me go further. We are a doctoral research university. We are. We have, when you look at our capacity for our PhD programs on this campus, we have a capacity far beyond what we currently are accommodating. And so, let's take our PhD programs in engineering. We're never going to recruit enough African American students or American students into our PhD programs in engineering. There just aren't that many students here in America who are desirous of pursuing a PhD in engineering. So we are recruiting, as every university in America international students to our PhD programs. And we are having incredible success in growing our PhD programs.
I'm having a seat now, so my colleagues can
Well, as you're doing that, but let me finish this comment. You need to understand that recruiting bright students from around the world, including those here in the United States, also enhances our university's research, quality of research, success of our faculty in recruiting research funds to our university, that also support undergraduate students at our campus, that enhances innovation and creativity on our campus, that creates opportunities for patents for our faculty, and for creating jobs in this community. That's what that's all about. And so we're not going to restrict ourselves to 250 PhD students who have a capacity for 500. Does that make sense to you? So that's what we're doing. That is added in that global diversity conversation we're having. Let me take this student here, and you ought to get in line. Get in line.
Yes, sir. Come get in line. All right. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I think it's kind of misleading, and I guess people kind of have a problem when they hear the diversity, when they look at page 12 of the Preeminence 2020 plan, and they see that 70% of the student body is supposed to be African American and 30% is supposed to be non-African American. Now, personally, from my perspective, I don't have a problem with diversity, but in my mind, it doesn't make any sense to diversify a university and the students here don't even have a sense of their own culture, who they are. So I think it's kind of hard, and I think that's where a lot of people are coming from, is we're going to bring other races, other people, demographics in, and we don't even have anything we can even call our own here. So I think like a great medium for that would be, why not institute a mandatory Black Studies program so the diverse students that come in get at least or get to gain a concept of African or Black culture.
They do. There's a requirement on that campus.
Yeah, I saw it. Somebody gave it to me. I think they instituted it 2011 or long before.
Been in place for almost 20 years.
What classes? Because I took an African American experience class, and it was very, very, very vague.
Yep.
Based on the curriculum.
Yep.
So, could
that be clarified more?
Yes, there was nothing. We never talked about Black nationalism. Never came up in conversation. And I think that's a staple in our culture here as Black people.
Okay. So, and I've had this discussion with a number of students as well. And so, when these courses that are available to you, and they are in numbers. The Dean of Arts and Sciences is not here, nor is the Chair of History, I don't believe. But the courses are there. You don't enroll in them.
I took African-American 1800.
But when I say you, I'm not just talking about you. You don't enroll in them.
We had to search for it.
No, you don't.
It's like when we come around like for AgriFest homecoming, all in your face. But when it comes to us learning about who we are as an African people, that's never in our face. I think we're a historically Black institution. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have the purpose of a historically Black institution incorrect about it. Maybe. But from my perspective, I thought it was to better Black people and give them a sense of identity.
You are to gain access to an exceptional educational experience with educational opportunities that enhance and enlighten you around the significant contributions of people of color to this nation. Absolutely. But that's not the only reason you're here as an HBCU. If that were our narrow focus, we wouldn't have many students interested in just that focus of our university. We wouldn't. And I'm saying to you, from enough experience, that even to get students to take courses that are African American or Caribbean-based courses, to make them relevant for you, we have to force you to take them by making them a requirement in the curriculum. And even then, most of you complain about having to take them. So you are interested, but most of our students aren't.
All right, so to counter that,
I hope so.
We have a documentary based on that on this campus on the lack of Black history that the students know. So would you be willing to watch it with us? So you can see that there is a need. Every student we interviewed said that, man, I would love to have a Black Studies program, mandatory Black Studies program, because obviously I want more information. Even so, Falcon didn't have a sense of their own history. So would you be willing to watch it with us so you could get an idea of what I'm speaking about?
I would make the time. And you didn't have to come to this forum to ask me that. Just so you know that.
Whoa. I have contacted you on 3 different bases.
Not me. Not me.
I spoke to you at the holiday extravaganza about my business plan.
That's different. That's different.
Let's cool, we can talk.
Okay, so let's be clear. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I don't want you to try to distort the facts. Okay. We're on the same page. Yes, sir.
Hi, good morning. I'm Michael Thomas. I'm a sophomore student. I study English, creative writing, concentration, and creative nonfiction. I also have questions about the diverse and inclusive campus community, because after having read it multiple times, a lot of it points specifically to what's referred to as cultural globalization or cultural diversity. In essence, it points to a lot of color. When Black people bring a sense of diversity in whatever space we come in, I specifically represent LGBTQ students. Now, among my community, we've been looking for inclusiveness since arriving here, and we've not found it. And if we want to feel included, we go to places like UNCG, we go to places like UNCC, we go to places like NC State, and we're more accepted to Chapel Hill than we are here at the university we call home. And so when I read through this, I'm very interested to see how you intend on bringing inclusivity to students we have not seen here without first making it available to those who have been here and already paid to be here.
I appreciate your comments. I really do. And I think it's long overdue that we have a conversation about students with alternative lifestyles on this campus, LGBT. And it's time to have that open dialogue framed around a group who help us make sure that we are creating a safe and open campus community that is embracing of all our sisters and brothers on this campus. So I would suggest to you that discussion is long overdue, and we should begin the dialogue. The challenge with that is creating a leadership group, and apparently you are among one of the student leaders on our campus. Then I would suggest that you follow up with us, Gold Prize, our chief of staff, and we began a framework so that discussion begins in earnest. That's a conversation around diversity around this campus. Absolutely. There's no resistance to that conversation in any way, shape, or fashion.
Absolutely. Cool. Excellent. And I mean, there are organizations that exist on campus that do create a safe space for students, but that's all they are, safe spaces for LGBT students. And we're looking for inclusion, to be included with our community. The Black queer community is the Black community also, and we need to make sure that we're included. Did you have programs in mind? Because it reads very beautifully on paper, but I just want to know did you have anything in the works?
We have a multicultural office.
Okay.
That multicultural office is now beginning to get, in my mind, some substance and strategy in place that allows us to begin more holistically having these discussions. That's what I'm looking for. So I don't want to have a one-on-one in my office with you. When you leave, nothing happens. And so if we're going to have a very frank and open dialogue about this, strategically, what comes out of this conversation? What's best for our students? What is the student group looking for from us that values a safe and open dialogue on this campus? What's considered to be important to you? It's not important for me to write the plan. It's important for you to be involved in the discussion. So my invitation to you is that let's now have that dialogue. But I want to include staff from academic affairs and staff from student affairs, because ultimately when you graduate, that conversation needs to continue. So we have to integrate it into a culture of focus on our campus as well.
Thank you. Well, I look forward to seeing more inclusion happen at the university.
I would suggest you not walk away, and so we can follow with you and have dialogue. Other questions? I would suggest to you that you've localized your focus on one goal. And either you've misunderstood it, or you've allowed others to frame it for you. And further, you've misunderstood it. You are bright young people. This is the type of conversation that we as a university must have about our future. It is absolutely critical for our future. What we're not going to do, we have no hidden agenda, despite some who would suggest otherwise. Our agenda is, as we've said it, so we want to thrive in the future. We want to compete and be successful. We want to make sure we're providing you the very best educational experience you can get anywhere. If we're doing that for you, you'll tell others. And others will see, and they'll come. We also have relevant marketing substance that we can then share with recruitment of students in the future and their parents who believe they're going to get something better somewhere else. So it's one thing to talk about being an HBCU. It is not you who's making the call. The person who's making the call are the recruiters, the industries and agencies, and the people who have buckets of ink who continue to ask the question about the relevance and competitiveness of HBCUs. We're not leaving our fate to those people in ink. We're taking responsibility for our university and its future. We are. That's what we're doing.
My question is, it's kind of different from cultural and racial diversity.
Yes.
But I guess it does kind of lead to diversity on campus. I want to know, you're focusing on STEM programs. Where is the focus on college arts and sciences? And in the Preeminence 2020, I see a lot of stuff that fixes the outside appearance of the school, like the people here or the buildings that you're building and expanded campus. And a lot of the stuff they're expanding campus are like engineering buildings and stuff for business. But where are the college arts and sciences? It is the largest department on campus and has the most students. And I know you're phasing out some programs, but and you said it's based on attendance in those programs. If the college arts and sciences is the largest one, why does, for example, a department like political science only has 2 full-time staff members? And I'm pretty sure they haven't had a raise in years.
Nobody's had a raise in years, unfortunately.
Yes.
Just so you know. In 5 years. This is 6th year, so that you know. So let me ask you a question, though. When you focus around any organization, you have to also be clear. You can't be everything to everybody. You can't be the best you can be at everything. When we as a university are competing in recruiting students, raising money, and bringing to our university the Fortune 500, first and foremost, if we didn't have strong engineering and strong ag and strong business that's of interest, and strong chemistry and strong biology and strong physics and strong mathematics, that's all STEM. That is arts and sciences. Those industries and agencies don't come here in record numbers. So first and foremost, we've got to make sure we do that well, and sustain that competitive advantage. That is A&T's competitive advantage. And while we do that, we work at enhancing the other areas on that campus that have great potential. Now, other areas that have great potential on this campus are in college of arts and sciences. There are great demands for increasing numbers of school teachers, especially in math and science. The Dean of Education sitting back there. There are increasing opportunities for graduates of our School of Technology. You didn't mention them. The Dean is sitting back there. We're working very closely with him to help him get our School of Technology to a better place so that it is much more competitive than it's been in the past, so that it attracts more students, it educates them in a significant way, positions them well, so that industries are very significantly interested in that.
And you bring up industries a lot and companies. Do you think it's dangerous to be talking about a public university and saying it's running as a business? And since business's only function is to make profit, and I think a university's only mission is to give education to its community. And I understand that you need to have, since we're having budget cuts, that you need to have money from other sources. But if you're going to focus on just STEM programs, it has a detrimental effect to the entire community. And I know you mentioned other arts, college arts and sciences. We still haven't addressed like why, like political science only has 2 full-time staff members.
That's a conversation you should have with your dean. I don't know you have 2 faculty members in political science. I don't.
Yeah, they're only 2 full-time, and we have political science has a lot of students, so they're having to teach like hundreds and hundreds of students.
So it's got to be more than 2 faculty members in political science.
I'm talking full-time.
Okay. So, Roberts is sitting here. He's sitting here. And so he'll help me follow with that, with the dean. So if there are only 2 faculty members in political science, then someone has allocated those faculty members within the College of Arts and Sciences to other spaces, because we don't do that from where we are. And so every one of our deans feel they need more faculty resources. They do. The challenge with that is that in times of budget cuts, we've cut 75 faculty positions. So we can't give those deans those faculty resources. So the only thing we can do at this moment is, for the moment, take from somebody else and give to other areas. That's one option. So we have to take from the least productive and give to the most productive. And that's what we've been forced to do as a business. We're not just an educational institution providing educational opportunities for students. That's quite the contrary. And that's the position that all institutions of higher education have been placed, public and private. It's not just a matter of giving you an opportunity to try education. We have to ensure that we're being very efficient, very effective, and very, very much business-oriented in how we allocate our resources on this campus. Because we're being held accountable for the return we're getting from those resources that we get as a university as a whole, and how we use them on our campus relative to returns. And those performance measures we're being held responsible for, both at the state level and at the federal level, those are forcing us to be much more accountable to demonstrating that we are managing our university as a business. So your point's very well taken, yes. On the other hand, this is a business for us. Now, you missed my point earlier about while we've been focusing on STEM, we're not just focusing on STEM.
And the building figure, the new expansion, like getting some of that money to go back to what we already have, or is it already allocated someplace else?
The university creates what we call a facilities priority list. That list gets approved by our Board of Trustees, and then it's approved by the Board of Governors. And then the state decides with every campus which institution will get money for a new building. And so when you look over the last 4 years, no university has gotten just simple funds for a new academic building. But if you go back over the last 10 years, the largest number of new academic buildings on this campus have been in the College of Arts and Sciences. They really have. Okay, so I hear you.
We're just going to take one last question.
But I would argue, any of you who have questions, you shouldn't just ask them today and walk away. This should be an ongoing dialogue. You can also go visit with your deans. The deans should be meeting with student organizations and student groups in their own schools and colleges to have these same kinds of open discussions. So instead of you asking me these questions, you should be getting answers at your school and college levels as well. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my question to you is, you mentioned, well, someone asked you this question earlier, but you gave a very vague answer.
Okay.
You mentioned that to attract black students, you were going to improve campus security as well as degree programs and things of that nature. Judging by page
That's
12
not what I
of
said.
Preeminence.
That's not what I said, but go ahead, I'm gonna let you finish, then I respond.
Okay. Judging by page 12 of Preeminence 2020, you predict that campus enrollment will increase, while at the same time the black student population will decrease. So, I'm looking at statistics right here. NCAT current, or at the time that you took these statistics, was 10,795 students. You predict it will increase to 13,500 students, while the percentage of black students will decrease from 87 to 70%. My question to you is, if you're doing all these things to make the university more attractive, these things matter as much to black students as it does to non-black students. So why is it that non-black students are the only percentage increasing in population? And also, what are you going to do specifically to reach out to black students to get them to come to this university?
But all we do in our most extensive recruitment efforts are to recruit African American students to our campus. African American numbers will not decrease, they're expected to increase. Our total enrollment is going to grow to 13.5, yes. So what we've got to do is first make sure we don't lose more African American students. So we've got to continue to appeal to African American students. And so when you look at our enrollment, our recruitment strategies, they are focused on recruiting large numbers of students to our campus. And most of our recruitment strategies are oriented to recruiting African American students. To be clear about that, meet with our enrollment management senior staff member, and they will share with you the statistics and our enrollment recruitment strategy. And some among us here also participate in that process, so that you know.
Are you able to address that right now for the students present?
Yeah.
What exactly?
The high schools we go to, the communities we go to, the use of our alumni as part of our recruitment processes so that we get into communities where counselors in those communities have been routing those students, African American students in particular, to other universities, getting to educate those counselors, and getting access to those students in those high schools. So we're targeting our recruitment to school districts and regions of the state, and we have petitioned the Board of Governors with approval to expand our out-of-state cap from 18% to 25%, defined to recruit more African American students to our university from outside of North Carolina. All of those are defined to increase African American students who enroll at our university. So if you look at our applications, you'll see that our apps have gone up substantially, as led by apps from African American students.
So
Last year, this year,
African American students' applications are increasing, but in the statistics you showed earlier, African American students are not coming to HBCUs, and specifically North Carolina A&T, as much. So how is your recruitment effort, how is everything you just mentioned, how is that ineffective for black students, which according to your data it was, yet effective for non-black students?
I want to make sure I'm not, first I want to make sure I respond to your question. African American students are in larger number going to other universities, not HBCUs. So we need to understand why those students are going to other universities. And we need to understand what we need to do better here to reverse those trends so that we are competing for an increasing number of those African American students to come to A&T. That's Preeminence 2020. That's our recruitment strategy. Those are our recruitment efforts. That's resulted in increased applications from African American students who were applying to East Carolina or UNCG or UNC Charlotte or Chapel Hill or UNC Wilmington. They are now applying to our university. And we're seeing an increasing number of those students come to A&T. As we saw this past fall, 2014, which is one of the reasons we didn't drop in enrollment significantly. We had a 1% decline that was, I believe, is tied to the unfortunate fiasco with the PLUS loan situation. But the other HBCUs in North Carolina did see a sizable reduction in enrollment. We see our apps for this fall, 2014, up over last year. The predominance of those apps are African American students. The predominance of those students have already indicated their intent to come to A&T.
So you don't see a problem in, I guess, the amount of black students applying to being enrolled in A&T. And if that's the case, why I don't see the correlation between what you're saying now and the percentage drop being so significant.
We're not going to get enough out of that pool to sustain us and drive our enrollment forward, to sustain our university well into the future. We aren't. We're going to be competing in this manner well into the future. This is not going to go away for us by any measure. And you're suggesting that we should not focus on recruiting a more diverse student population to our university, Hispanic students to our campus, while we are aggressively recruiting African American students, which we are. That we should not be aggressively recruiting more Caribbean students to our campus, as we are, to our campus. That we should not see an increase in white students come to our campus, as we expect we will see. Are those numbers going to grow faster than the African American student population? No, they aren't. We're showing that through evidence with apps applied to our university today and students enrolling today. If we were not doing the things we're doing right now and that we did last year, as defined by Preeminence 2020, and as we framed out enrollment, recruitment strategies for our university, we would see a larger decline in African American students, as we saw from 2005 to 2009. Okay? And those are facts.
Good morning, everyone. Dorian Troy Davis, Junior Journalism and Mass Communications student with the concentration of Public Relations, and also the SGA president-elect for next year. I know that we had to end this session. I know that we closing soon, but I wanted to make an announcement real quick that if anybody, any of these students in here have any concerns, you have your SGA president for next year and your GSAC president, Graduate Student Council president, Ms. Brittany Glover up front. And if you have any concerns, please bring them to us as well, so that we can make possible initiatives and plans for next year to put in place, so that we cater to students as well. And we also meet with the Chancellor and other board members. So please come to us at the end of the session if you have any questions. And I'll go ahead and give it.
Well, one additional announcement as we bring this to closure. There is a group called the Wabash, Provost Wabash Scholars, a group of your peers who have been assessing this whole issue of campus culture, climate, related to diversity. They've done an excellent job. Many of you have shared your perspectives with the Wabash Scholars. The Wabash Scholars will report out today in their second report to the provost and me at 4 o'clock in room 109 of this building. So you're welcome to come back and hear the Provost Wabash Scholars report on the assessment of our campus culture and climate readiness for discussions further around diversity. We'd love to have you involved in this discussion, sharing your views. I've been involved in the dialogue as well. We also appreciate your presence today. We really do. If you have further discussions and concerns, our student leaders, Ms. Glover, Mr. Davis, they have our time on a regular basis so that you know. And we hear them as we will hear you. Thanks very much.